I'm sorry.
Good evening, Anna, Catalina, and Ivan.
Good evening, teacher. How are you?
Good, thank you very much. Good evening, Ivan. I'm gonna wait 2 minutes more for your classmates to join us, and then we will start.
Sorry. Good evening. Sorry, teacher.
Hello, Luis. Good evening. I'm sorry. Okay, so let's start. Welcome everybody to the encounter of your practicum course. What we are going to do tonight is to discuss the information that you read last for the first week, that was before Holy Week. And that information was about methodologies. So you read about one methodology, one sequence for teaching, and one approach. And we're going to discuss that information. I know some of you have been teaching for some time. Anna wrote that she can hear me well. Do you guys hear me well?
Yes, teacher.
Yes,
Very well.
teacher.
Yes, teacher, very well. Good evening.
But the signal of your connection is shows bad with red color. Now with yellow color.
Okay, yeah, it varies. Sometimes, I mean, it's not permanent the same color, and I hope it gets yellow for most of the time during the encounter. Okay, well, I was telling you that some of you already have some experience teaching. For example, Alexander, I know you have been teaching for some time. Ivan, I'm not sure if you have been teaching for, if you have taught English before. Have you, Ivan? Hello, Ivan.
What if I was teaching?
Yes. Are you an English teacher, or have you had an experience as?
Yeah, I am an English teacher, but almost always at the elementary level.
Okay.
So there is a more here where I live. English is not a strong thing in the institutes or high schools.
Where are you located? Where do you live?
Sorry, so like I couldn't listen.
Where do you live?
I live in Santander de Quilichao.
Okay.
This is near to Cali.
All right. Ivan, so I would like you to think about the last class that you had and to tell us like the stages of that class. Same for Alexander and all of you who have been teaching lately, have been teaching English lately. So I don't know if, for example, Luis, this is the first time I have you in one course, so I don't know if you had the experience of teaching English before. Have you?
How do you mean, teacher? Yes, I have been teaching English a few years ago. So the last 3 years I have been working with Divino Salvador School, and I'm studying because I need to improve my English and to learn about you and all of my partners. And I'm very happy to know you and to be here. Thank you, teacher.
Okay, thank you, Luis. So, same question for you. I would like you to think about your last class or a class that you have taught lately, and tell us the stages that your class had. Like, what were the steps, the topics?
Today,
Well, any class that you remember, like the stages that
okay. Yes, really, what I am trying to do is to practice what I have been learning here. So what I mean is that I am working with my students in 10th grade because it's a very difficult group for working. So I use the material that you gave us about 3 methods, one sequence, and one approach. And I talked to them that I have been studying about that. And I took two methods. One method is a audiolingual method, and the other method is a grammar translation method. So I divide the group in two, and they are happy now because the different levels in the course in 10th grade is clearly seen. So I divide the course. I say, okay, if you want to work with grammar method, grammar translation method, so you can do, or if you want to work with audiolingual method, you can work. So I say that they have to create a cardboard with the initials of GTM, so grammar translation method, and ALM, audiolingual method, on their desks. So I start giving the opportunity or the chance to the audiolingual method to read in English and to the grammar translation method to translate what they have read. So it has been a good experience because it's the first time that they want to work because of the differences about the level. So they didn't want it was very difficult, but I feel well and I feel very happy because it is working. So finally, I can take advantage of these materials, and I'm very happy too because I can work, as I said, first like tranquil, like more relaxed than before, you know.
Okay, Luis, what did your students read?
Okay, I put a reading about Martin Luther King, you know. So it's the story of that guy talking about the biography. So they start reading that when he was born, where did he live, what was his life, all things. So they start reading in English, and I put one in English, then one grammar transmit, one GTM. I call, okay, one GTM that want to translate. They try to translate. They try to, and if they cannot do that, I put to one ESL person to help them for translating that. And they like the reading because Martin Luther King is a very famous was a very famous man, and the reading is from Ras Kids. It's a platform that I usually had before, and so they read about that biography.
Okay, thank you very much, Luis. Ivan, could you please tell us about one of your classes?
Yes, I have to say that I am a little out of practice and speaking English.
Mm-hmm.
So if I make a mistake, sorry. Uh, the last class I put all my students, or before that class I put all my students a topic to make exposition. I am working on a high school, like it's like um, there is people from rehabilitation, from drugs, people from guns, guns or gunsons. I don't remember how to say that. Ghettos, people that was put out from normal high schools. So it's a difficult place to work. So I start to in this month with this new classroom, put them in that situation that they have to explain a topic with data they found on YouTube, because the last classroom that I have the last grade, but there are several grades. Maybe you have in the same classroom sixth grade or until 11th grade. So uh, the classroom before them lose everything, lose the test even with the notebook open, because they don't pay attention, or they don't want to write and things like that, or they didn't understood their own letters. So uh, I started to put that in that way, some expositions. So they start to understand that the class is difficult to explain, and that the teacher is doing something uh, that is showing them that the easier way to learn it. So they have that now until the exposition aren't didn't end. So when I start this class with you, I found that some topics, some day before, maybe years ago, I tried to use or to did that, but I didn't know everything about that methodology. So uh, I really uh, it's really motivated that when I find all that topics that you share with us, because I think that I could in future develop a better class. But
But
nowadays I'm doing that.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. You were telling us that you had your students to present orally a topic, right?
No orally. It's orally, but they could use Spanish or use the notebook, because they didn't speak English.
Mm.
So it's difficult to me to have a good English class, for say, in some way.
And what did they have to write or to what did they have to write about? What topic?
For example, someone have to explain how to use the present simple. Uh, the other one have to explain why do what uh, the rules about put the ing in the verbs and things like that. But it's something short for everyone, and at the end I make an explanation about the topic, and make some questions with and they work in couples on some questions. And the last one is make a English test, right?
A written test. Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Ivan.
Okay, thank
Alexander, could you please tell us about your class?
Yes, hello everyone.
Hello.
Yes, I usually work with adults, and first thing I do is, okay, first I greet them, and we talk for about 2 minutes or 3 minutes, like how they have been doing. And Then I start with a leading or a warm up, just to get them engaged in the topic that we're about to see. One of the warm ups could be like I show them a picture connected to the topic. We also try to do like some talking on short personal anecdotes, but always related to the topic that we're about to see. So next thing I do is like I set up an activity, mm, maybe some role plays, but I don't try to do like long explanations. So instead of doing long explanations, I just try to show them by maybe doing a demonstration or by showing them an example or maybe doing some role play with another student. But I don't try to do like long explanations. So we do some, after that, we also do like free talking activities where they are going to put in practice what we're about to see. For example, like giving some flashcards. And after I do the presentation, after I do the examples, they just follow I give them the instructions and I put them to work in pairs. After the, the, the role play, I give them um, I give them some feedbacks on what kind of mistakes they have made, and we try to role play again until they do everything much better than the first time they tried. So basically, that's like what I do.
Okay, thank you. And what level are they?
I have from A1 until B2, so it varies every day. So I have like A1, A2. Sometimes I have B1, B2. So it's varied.
Okay. So you focus on having them practice their speaking.
Exactly. Yes. I sometimes I have C1, and so when I'm having a class with C1, I always try to focus on like like trying to work on their accent, like reducing their accent. So I have a book which is called American Accent Training. So we work with that book. When it's A1, A2, we just try to focus on simple present tenses or maybe some vocabulary. The grammar, I don't focus on grammar so much. I mean, grammar is good. Uh, I'm one of the many people who think that if you focus on grammar too much, it's gonna make the conversations a little bit slower because they're gonna focus and they're gonna be thinking like, "Hey, Alex told me to say the subject first, then the verb and the adjective." So I don't try to focus on teaching grammar too much. So I just try to do the grammar by talking, by doing some presentation, role plays, and things like that. So it's always focused on speaking.
Do you remember any topic for an A1 level? Any role play topic for an A1 level?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, I have some flashcards where there are different people are looking for apartments for rent, and I give them like 10 flashcards with 10 different apartments and some information and with the prices about talking about the neighborhood. It says if there is a mall nearby. So it's 10 different flashcards with 10 different departments. Mm, and one of the things that I always do is I write down on the board like the conversation when they call the tenant or the tenant calls the landlord to ask for information about the apartment. So I give at the end of some sentences, I put a line where they have to complete using the flashcards. For example, excuse me, I'm looking for an apartment. Do you have anything available? Yes, I have an apartment in and I put a line. So one of the flashcards says, I have an apartment in Bronx, I have an apartment in any neighborhood. And the other part is, one of the other lines is like, the apartment is furnished with, so I put a line, and they have to complete with, the apartment is furnished with tables, with chairs, with anything related with living room vocabulary from the house. Also, one of the questions is what kind of utilities it has. So the flashcards also say what kind of utilities each apartment has. So it's like basic conversations, not too complicated.
So that they
That's
have
what I
some
usually
prompts.
do.
They have some prompts, and they have to drill the role play till they are ready to act it out. Am I right?
I'm sorry.
To,
I'm sorry, but the connection is breaking up.
okay, I'm going to repeat.
I couldn't hear.
All right, so your students are given some prompts so
I'm
that
sorry, couldn't hear you.
all right.
Yes. Yeah, we have.
Your students are given some flashcards and prompts.
I'm sorry, teacher, continue.
So your students have to use those prompts and flashcards, and they have
I have videos. I have.
Alexander? Alexander.
Teacher, I don't hear.
Sorry, teacher, I can't hear you. The connection is breaking up.
The connection is
Can't
bad.
really hear you.
The connection is bad.
Yeah, yeah.
What about now? Is it better?
There's a bad connection, and when you talk, yeah, there's a terrible connection. And sometimes when you talk, connection is breaking up.
Okay. Right. I was asking you, Alexander, if your students have to drill the conversation several times till they are ready to act it out.
I give them like a conversation maybe when they have a conversation about renting, I give them the activity. Sometimes I give them pictures, and I also give them show them some images from internet. I don't know if that's a question that you're asking me, like what kind of prompts I have, because I couldn't hear you well.
No, I understood that they are given the prompts and they have to rehearse the conversation and several times till they are ready to act the conversation out. Is that what they have to do?
Yeah, that's exactly what they have to do. It's not like reading all the time. We always act out the conversations, and I always correct them as soon as they finish the conversation. I give them their feedback, so I never interrupt them because I don't like to cut the flow.
Okay, yeah, so you focus
They might be inspired.
you help them to focus on developing their speaking. That's your main focus of the classes. Okay, thank you, Alexander. So Anna, you wrote that you use grammar translation method and neurolingual method. You work on reading and speaking, and you use games and dictations and songs. Also, you have them make their own flashcards about the vocabulary. So could you tell us what is the level of your students and the age?
Me, teacher?
Yes, please, Anna. How old are you?
Primary.
Students? How old are
elementary.
and
No, 7 to 8 years.
7 and 8 years. Okay. And
Second grade, third grade, and fourth grade.
what type of topics do they learn? What type of topics do they study?
For example, with animals, in fourth grade. Yeah. In the third grade, now I see house and pets. And the second grade, now family. I use different vocabulary in different grades.
So it's general English for or English for
Present, simple.
English for general purposes, and since they have a basic level, they study the first tenses that we usually find in books, like present simple and past simple and
Simple.
present continuous.
Yeah, and in fourth grade, use present simple and present continuous.
All right. Well, thank you.
In this moment. Yeah.
Thank you, Anna. Does anybody
teacher.
else works as an English teacher? John? John, are you working as an English teacher?
Okay, teacher. Hello, teacher, everybody. Yes, teacher. Right now, I'm working as an English teacher, and I'm working in two places. The first one, I'm working in elementary and high school. This is a school, and I had the opportunity to teach in elementary and high school. And another place, I can teach for academy.
Okay, could you tell us your experience or the sequence of one of your classes?
Okay, teacher. For example, my experience about teaching class, and I like the method like communicative approach. Communicative approach. I like this method because with this method you can put in practice and talk with your students using the real life. For example, and they can speak and they can talk. For example, in elementary school, if I talking with my students about the family members, and I can ask them, for example, and who do you live with? They answer, I live with my mother, my fathers, and for example, what do you do on weekend with your family? They can answer, I go out, I go to the restaurants. The principal idea that I use the communicative approach is that the student can use the real information and they talk with the classmate and the teacher too. Another important thing, teachers, when I use in the communicative approach is I use a lot of conversations. The student has to work and create conversation. If, for example, if they don't understand some words, they can ask me. I can say them some words, some new words. And for example, on Fridays, we organize like a conversation club, right, teacher? Like a conversation club. The student has the opportunity to talk each other. And for example, the teacher give one topic. For example, if you are speaking about the comparisons, and I can say to them, what is the most important for you? The most important, love or money? And the students start to speak each other and say, no, teacher, for me the most important is love. Because without money, you can live with the love, because if you love somebody, it's very good. Another student say, no, teacher, for me the most important is money. Because without money, you can live, you can pay the rents, you need money to go out to the street, something like this. This is the method that I like to use because according to my experiences, the student can improve their English skill.
Okay, so you have your students discuss about or give their opinions about a topic, and also you have them to create conversations about common situations, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Because I think when they create the common situations, it's easier for them to create because they are thinking about the things they are living in real life.
Okay, thank you, John. Is
Okay,
anybody
you're
else
welcome.
working as an English teacher?
Yes, teacher, me.
Paola, what did you do last time in your last class?
Okay, I teach in first grade until for 6 years and second grade and 8 years. For example, in the first grade, mm, I teach plural and singular. So, for example, today I'm dealing with this topic. So I use first the elements or yes, element and picture that we have in the classroom to learn this is and are many times. And also I ask to the students, for example, how many books here? And so the students say one or two or three. So I say, okay, what use is or are? So the students first I try to with picture, with I use a video to explain more about the topic because they is a very little kids, no? So it's important to motivate and try to show with a real object and situation to explain the topic. With the second grade, the topic is about a project that is make a story, and so was very funny because they are motivate. Because I show my story with picture and short sentence. And in this moment, and for example, today with the second grade, then create our story, and was fantastic because they with a some word that they know in English try to make a sentence. So was good experience for them. So I do this class, for example, presentation the topic, they practice and make a production and also try to make the project base about the topic the last class. This is my experience for this moment for the kids.
Okay, Paola, what was your story about?
And this, for example, my story was a princess. But for the kids, they select different topics. For example, I make a group, the two kids, so they together make a story for picture in the TV and the program. For example, one student make a story about Pokemon. So they invent a story.
Okay.
It's a story for himself. No have a topic like this, or for example the fantasy, or for example the princess. No, and they free to decide the topic.
Okay. Thank you, Paola. Anybody else? All right, so let's review what you read. Catalina, what you remember about the readings that you had and the tasks that you had for the first week?
Sure. Hello. How are you?
Hello, Catalina. Good.
The readings that
Catalina is off. Okay, so maybe Claudia? Claudia, could you tell us what you remember about oriolingualism, grammar translation.
Yes, teacher, of course. Good evening.
Hello.
I am glad to see you again.
Thank
Good. Yes, teacher. About the topic for today, I think is very important. I am not working as English teacher, but in this moment, but I believe that it's very important that the students are motivated. The the teacher must to engage with the topic. If the students feel wish to learn, it's very easy that they learn. About the lecture, I remember that the definition of the methods and approach, and the lecture talking about the three methods. I think
Methods.
about the methods, about the grammar translation, audiolingual method, and task-based learning method.
Task-based learning.
Task-based learning method. And I think that it's important that the class have the three methods, I believe. The methods can be mixed,
Mixed.
combined in each class. I suppose that is good idea. What or what is your opinion about this?
We are going to discuss the position of the program regarding methods. Right. Okay. Catalina. Thank you, Claudia.
Okay.
Sorry, teacher. I'm having a lot of problems today in my apartment with the lights. There's like a cutout here.
Okay.
So I'm on my cell phone. I hope you can hear me well.
Yeah, the sound is good.
Okay.
Well,
so you were asking me
what you remember about the readings that you had for the first week that were about audiolingualism, grammar translation, task-based learning, PBL.
Yes, so I remember about what we had to do with the charts. So, for example, there was one that it was about when you talk in another language which is not your native language, that you do in a bilingual, and you can use the translation of some words. Other one that I remember was the one that emphasizes on the task rather than on the language. I think that was the method used to plan and teach the lesson. I don't remember very well, but I think it was that one, which was the students learn by doing. I think I like that method a lot. Well, I'm not a teacher, you know that, but for example, when I had to do the homework, well, the task, I think that method I would like to use it a lot of times because you involve a lot of students and then they learn while they do something. And actually, I saw some videos that you sent for the second task, and it explained very well that method. The other method that I remember was the one that consisted on the students translating sentences on the desk and doing a lot of grammar. I don't remember another. Okay, yes, the one that you had to do like a presentation, the practice and the production of a sequence, which was the method using to plan and to teach the lesson. And I don't remember. There were a lot of interesting ones, but I think I only remember those.
Okay, thank you, Catalina. So, what's the idea? You heard your classmates talking about their experiences teaching, and that helps us to realize that we plan classes using different activities because we need to take into account students' level and students' age and students' interest. As Catalina and Liliana mentioned, we need to engage students and involve them so that they can learn. That's really important. Some of you mentioned that you are focusing on speaking and that you want your students to produce orally. So you have activities to help them develop that skill. And for example, in Ivan's case, he has a difficult context because the students that he has don't want to learn, right? They are there, I guess, because they want to finish their high school studies, but they are not interested because, well, they have their life experiences are really difficult or have been very different to the regular ones that we can find in a regular school. So we have to take all that into account because we cannot be only technicians who apply a method following a sequence, and we need to have in mind that our students have different needs. That's why from the methods that you read, that you studied, those methods go from the ones that are more focused on grammar to those ones that are more focused on communication. So those that are more focused on grammar give the student less chance to make decisions. So when I say make decisions, is that they cannot decide on the topic they want to read or talk or write, right? But they produce or they practice what the teacher plans. So there we have the grammar translation and the audiolingual method. The students repeat and translate what the teacher has planned for the class. And on the other hand, we have those methods that give students more freedom to make decisions, such as the PBL approach, which is the one that gives students more opportunities to participate in the decision of choosing the topic, and a little bit the TBL. What happens with TBL is that TBL promotes all the skills, promotes the practice of all the skills. Okay, so I mentioned that when we plan a lesson, we need to take into account the students' age, level, interests, but also we need to take into account the philosophy of the place where we are working. Because if the school asks teachers to assess students with a written test that assesses students' ability to complete gaps using correct grammar. So the focus is going to be on grammar, depending on the school philosophy about teaching and learning English. So we have to take into account the school policies, also the students' interest, age, and level, right? So I'm going to show you some lesson plans that are based on TBL because that's the methodology that your program, this program, is promoting. Why? Most of the schools have a traditional approach to teaching and learning. When I say traditional, is that there is a textbook, there is a written assessment. Students are expected to produce correctly in a written or in an oral way. They don't have a lot of chance to make decisions. So TBL promotes the practice of all skills by uh, by having a communicative sequence that we are going to review. In my opinion, and in the opinion of people who have research about methods, is not the best one because the one that makes the decisions about the topics that are going to be studied is the teacher. So some students might feel attracted to read about, for example, history, but others might find that very boring. With PBL, that is not a problem because the students can choose the topic they want to research or they want to work on. So TBL has that, let's say, disadvantage. But anyway, is based on a communicative approach to teaching and learning, which means that students have an objective that they have to achieve that is related to communication. The objective of the class is not to practice a grammar topic or is not to practice a specific sound, or is not to practice a specific set of vocabulary, but is to be able to talk about something that they will encounter in real life. So I'm going to show you an example that will help you to understand that idea in a better way. This is a lesson plan for a group of students that are 9 and 8 years old, and they have a basic level. So the topic is food likes and dislikes. But what they are expected to do at the end is to be able to communicate what they like or dislike regarding food. It's very simple because the sequence is for an elementary level and for kids. So what does the TBL method tell us? That method presents 6 steps. And in those 6 steps, students practice grammar, but also reading, listening, speaking, and writing. So for example, in the first step, students practice listening. In the second stage, students practice speaking. In the third stage, students can practice listening again. In the fourth, they always practice grammar. In the fifth stage, they practice writing or speaking. And in the sixth stage, they always practice also writing or speaking. So all the skills are developed, are taken into account. While if we only have students work on how to create sentences in present simple with the verb to be, we will only cover stage 3. Yes, without any context. When I say context is, for example, what Paola mentioned he did in her class about writing a story. She had students create a story, so that is giving a context. It's not telling them write sentences using there is and there are, but write a short story. In this case, for this lesson plan, we have a warm-up which is related to the topic, that is food likes and dislikes. We have a chart that the teacher draws on the board with a happy face and a sad face, so it helps students to understand with the help of the pictures and her gestures that she likes some food and she dislikes other. So that's just a warm-up. Students just listen to the teacher, and then they are encouraged to draw a picture and complete a sentence written on the board. I like, and they are encouraged to complete it with the teacher's help to just engage them with the topic. Then we have the first stage of lesson of the TBL approach. And here the teacher presents the topic in context. So the teacher uses this video. I would like you to watch the first 2 minutes of the video and tell me what you see. Okay, Maria, could you please tell me what you watched?
Hello, teacher.
Hello, Maria.
Classmate. I'm so sorry because my voice is not good because I have right now one as asthma Chris. I watched the video. It's talking about like it is like about food, and they not only say like I like or I don't like. No, you use it for example. Sorry, excuse, like that. And they have one role play. And finally, they have one role play. And yes, like that. I remember just.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So that video helps to give the class a context. Students don't find the sentences in isolation, but they see the whole situation. And with kids at that age, it's very important to use a lot of visual aids because their attention span is very short and they are very visual. So those type of resources like videos or flashcards help to focus their attention. Well, so the idea for this TBL sequence is that for the first stage, the teacher gives students an example of what they are expected to do in stage 6. When we do that at the beginning, we expect that students, with the help of pictures, they infer what is happening in the situation. So not everything is explained in this by using this method. It's the opposite. Things are presented and then the teacher sees or asks or finds out how much the student is able to infer. It's like if we put them in an English-speaking context and try to find out if they are able to come up with ideas regarding what is going on in the situation. So that's what is expected in stage 1, that they can see the language in context, but also the teacher needs to help the students to rehearse the pronunciation and to understand the vocabulary. So there are some questions or vocabulary exercises. So this task-based learning approach is built on the basics. We go from the easiest to the most difficult. We present the whole context, but we help the students to understand little by little what happened in that example by having them work on grammar, on vocabulary, on pronunciation, so that at the end they can do something similar. So in stage 2, students need to drill. Students need to practice orally. The teacher used, in this case, the teacher used these flashcards and had students work in pairs to complete the questions. Here, students had the gaps. So, do you like? And they had to use the words that they chose from the picture to complete the gap. And the classmates had to answer or no, I don't, right? Okay, so previously to having them work on these questions in pairs, the teacher reviewed with the students the pronunciation of the words that are related to the pictures. Then the teacher had the students drill. It means that students practice the same question over and over. So it helps them to memorize. Do you like cherries? Do you like orange? Do you like lemon? That is a drilling exercise. And also the answer. Yes, I do. No, I don't. Yes, I do. No, I don't. That's drill. When we have big groups of students, what we have to do is to have them working in small groups like 5 or mingle, work in pairs, and then after some minutes, look for other classmates and ask the same questions. So we can have them practice more and drill more. Okay, so as you see, we go from the easiest to the most difficult. Then stage 3 is to help the students. I'm sorry, here there was other drilling exercise. So, but this time is a writing drilling. I would like you to watch the video again, the first minute, and tell me what you see. Okay, Luis, did you watch the video? Luis, did you watch the video?
Excuse me, teacher, who are you asking to?
You.
Okay, sorry. I just finished of watching the video. So what I saw is that is a video for practicing with vocabulary, but at the same time, they can practice the answer because the question is I like to eat a lot of things. Guess what? So guess what is the question that guide students to answer? Okay, I like to eat meat. I like to eat bananas. I like to eat pizza. I like to eat watermelon, chicken, broccoli, apple, and chocolate, or what I saw on those pictures. So it's a very interesting exercise to complete the one before the ones we saw before.
Okay, thank you, Luis. As you mentioned, we could do different things with the video. We can have students write sentences, complete sentences, like panda likes bananas, the panda doesn't like broccoli, for example, etc. Or have them complete questions and answers. It depends on what we want them to drill. Okay, that is writing drilling because they do the same exercise. I mean, they practice the same structure several times. So again, we are building on the first exercise that you remember is the context by helping them understand the vocabulary and drill the words in an oral and in a written way. And then the third stage is having them listen again. So a lot of listening is necessary so they get an example and then they feel more confident after a lot of drilling and after a lot of listening. So they feel more confident at the end when we ask them to do something similar. So in number 3, we have the video, and then they have to complete a listening exercise. They have to complete a listening exercise based on the video. So just give me a minute. I'm checking the video. Okay, again here we have visual aids. So please watch the first minute of the video and tell me what you see, what you watched. Okay, please, anybody who wants to tell me what you watched?
Teacher, is like a reinforcement of the grammar and the vocabulary.
Yes. Did you watch the song and the story?
Yes.
All right. So again, it's as you mentioned, helps to reinforce the topic
I think it's
with
a nice
more.
way in.
Alexander?
Sorry, I think it's a nice way to motivate students. But
Sorry,
yes.
Alexander, could you repeat?
Yeah, what I'm saying is that everyone loves music and kids love jumping, like being moving all the time. I think it's a nice way to learn. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. So you were saying kids like songs and kids like moving. Alexander, now we can't hear you. Well, do you guys hear me? Catalina, do you hear me?
The structure of making questions and vocabulary just by singing. I
I
think it's a
think
nice
that
video.
she's in here.
I'm back here. So you were saying that kids like moving and kids like
Okay.
songs. So that is a good way to approach children or engage them, right? Do you guys hear me? Do you hear me?
We couldn't listen you, teacher.
Okay. I heard that Alexander said that as children like moving and singing, the video was appropriate for them. Am I right?
Yes, you're right.
Okay. Do you want to complement something else, or well? Okay. So far,
I don't know if you heard.
Alexander. Yes, Alexander. Alexander. Well, do you hear me? Anna, do you hear me? Catalina, do you hear me?
Teacher, it's not very clear. Like your
Now
voice goes in a certain point and we cannot listen to the whole question.
What about
your
now?
voice
Is
is
it better?
good.
Yes, teacher.
Yes.
Yes, teacher.
Okay. So again, what we can see in the sequence is that we are, as Catalina said, we are reinforcing the topic with more visual aids, with more listening, but everything is related to the objective that was established for the lesson, which is students at the end will be able to talk about their likes and dislikes. So it's just as they can say, I like bananas, but I don't like strawberries. And in order for help them to do that, since they are beginners and they are children, we can do all those stages so that at the end they just can add those two sentences. But as you see, the sequences goes from the easiest to the most difficult. So I'm going to show you the last part. Um, that authentic listening, that video that you watch goes with some questions about the video or filling the gap exercises or yes, no questions about the video. Then the focus on linguistic elements is the grammar part. In that part, the teacher doesn't explain the structure, but shows them some examples. I like bananas, I don't like strawberries. And they have to try to analyze by giving the students an example.
Teacher, sorry.
By giving the students an example like, I like bananas, but I don't like strawberries. Students need to be able to analyze it and try to complete some gaps. Some gaps that are related to the example. So then they will have, for example, a picture of the panda, let's say, with a happy face when he has a dish full of let's say, pears. But the same panda bear has a sad face next to a dish full of, let's say, I'm sorry about the connection. Do you hear me? Do you guys hear me?
Yes, teacher, but the connection is very low.
Yeah, it's really bad today. Sorry. Well, I was saying that for the grammar part, students practice grammar, like filling the gaps, but students are not explained, or the teacher doesn't explain to the students the structure of the sentence, but gives them an example, and based on the example, students need to try to fill some gaps. If the students cannot do the exercise, then the teacher explains the structure, but first tries to have them infer. Yeah, it keeps breaking up. Sorry about it. Okay. Hopefully I can finish the idea. During the grammar practice, the teacher doesn't explain the structure of the sentence, but gives the student an example, and the students are encouraged to work on filling the gaps exercises or other grammar activity by analyzing the example. If the student can't find the correct answer, then the teacher explains the structure of the sentences. Do you hear me? Do you hear me?
Yes, now we hear you better.
Okay, sorry. The last two stages are to have them work in pairs, to write a similar, to write a very short conversation about likes and dislikes, food likes and dislikes. And the last stage is to have them act out the conversation. All right, I can share the lesson plan. That lesson plan was written by a classmate, one of your classmates. She's in Teacher Practicum 2 currently. So she prepared that class for her students at a school. What I wanted to show you is that the structure is coherent. There is an objective at the beginning. The expectation for the production at the end is not very complex because it's basic level and children. But it won't happen again with a group of adults who are advanced students. The sequence will change, that there won't be that amount of visual aids and videos. The topic needs to be more difficult. as well as the exercises, etc. And then there won't be that amount of drilling, because if students are advanced, they will need that practice. So this sequence is a sequence that works very well for basic levels and intermediate ones. It promotes communication, but the disadvantage is, as I mentioned before, that the topic chosen for the teacher might be not interesting for the students. So I would like to know if you have questions about the sequence or the explanation, the information that I gave you.
No, teacher, I think everything's clear. The only thing that I have like doubt is at the end, because I couldn't like hear you very well. But I think I get the point about the lesson plan. Actually, we did a class in the first cut with the teacher Jorge, and he showed us this type of lesson plan. So this is not new for me, but at the end I couldn't follow very well your class because I couldn't hear you.
Okay, what I said is that the last two steps or stages are to have students working in pairs to write a short conversation about their likes and dislikes regarding food. And the last stage is to have them act it out. Just go in front of the classroom and act out their role play for the conversation.
Okay, teacher.
So that's
Teacher, this is a different way for the English class. It's very different to the traditional class, in my opinion.
anyway, as you see, it has some stages that are that follow the audiolingual method, the ones that are about drilling. It has some, it could have some translation, grammar translation in the first part if the students don't get it, don't understand the vocabulary.
Yes.
So it can have something of some ideas of other methods. That is not focused only on grammar, is not focused only on listening or on speaking. It tries to have students work on all the skills.
Yes, teacher. For example, the first stage of the class is linking with the last part. It's
Exactly.
very important.
Yes. So you show the.
Contextual. Yes, sorry.
No, go ahead, Fabio.
No. Tell me.
No, yeah, as you said, the first part is what the students should be able to do at the end.
Yes.
If you try that lesson plan with a similar group of students, you will find out that at the end they make mistakes because they have a basic level. Sometimes they will mispronounce some words, or they will make mistakes in the structure, which is normal for their level. So the teacher needs to be very patient and study the same topic but with different vocabulary. So likes and dislikes regarding TV programs, or likes and dislikes regarding other topics.
Yes. It's very interesting, teacher. Really.
Yeah, it could help teachers who are new teaching because it gives a structure, and also it could be useful for those basic and intermediate levels. I'm not saying that it's the only sequence that you have to do or to work with. Uh, you could promote also communication using a different sequence, not that one, exactly that one. This is just one method, but we have now inquiry based. We have PBL, which is totally different, but works a lot. So it's not the only one. Okay, any question before we finish?
No, teacher, everything's clear.
Yes, everything is clear, teacher, and thank you very much because I only want to tell you that what you have given us is very important for our process, you know, because we are learning all the time. So thank you very much, and we try to learn the more we can about your classes.
Okay, Luis. Well, this week you are reading and watching some videos about PBL that we will discuss. We will discuss that topic next week. Well, if you have any questions about that topic, we will discuss that next week.
No, teacher.
Okay, teacher.
In my case, no.
Could you repeat?
No, teacher, I don't have question about the next topic.
Okay, good. So thank you very much for joining the encounter.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you, teacher.
Bye.
You're
May
welcome.
God
Thank you, everyone.
bless you, and bye-bye, all of you.
Bye.
God bless you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, teacher.